So today we have a great guest for us to hear from, Barbara Brehon. I've had the blessing to be connected with Barbara and be on her podcast, and it was nice to be able to share with your audience. So Barbara is a minister. She's an author. Is it three books?
Absolutely, I actually have more than that, but the trilogy is what I promote most.
I love that. And so she's gonna share some things for us today. Now, Barbara is on our segment, I Am Harriet Tubman. So I think she got rich. She liked that. She got something special for us. So Barbara, what would you like to share with us to our guests today?
Well, I just thank you first of all. Hello to everybody, and I thank you, Auntie Carol, for having me on the show. And today I would like to talk about one of the first scriptures that I actually memorized because in terms of thinking like Harriet Tubman, I think about love. I also think about trust when I think about faith. And so the scripture comes from Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not unto your own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. See, I believe that I have the heart of Harriet Tubman because I have faith. I have trust in the Lord. And as a minister, I believe that faith is real simple because in Hebrews it says faith is the evidence of things not seen. You can hope for things and trust God to deliver God's promises. So you don't have to see everything. You don't have to know everything. You have to believe in your heart just like Harriet Tubman wasn't depending on everything she could see. She was depending on her faith in God to get her from destination A to destination B to destination C on that Underground Railroad. And so I want to talk today about all about faith and all about some of the things that related back in my childhood as I go on about this. As I do things the Harriet Tubman way, I am confident that the God I serve is always present with me and will lead me and guide me to everything that He created me to do. I have the ability because God put a seed in me that's in His image that I don't have to try to be someone else. I can be myself. I don't have to try to do things or be the way that other people do things and see things or even act the way that other people act. I'm confident that God made me the way He did and He did not make a mistake. He created me in his image, and that was not a mistake. So the pieces of himself that he gave me, I have to be okay with that. And I had to learn over years to accept myself the way that I naturally am. And the Bible tells me that he knew me. God knew me before he even placed me in my mother's womb. And he created me for a purpose. So I don't remember a time, honestly, that I didn't know God. I remember when I was a little girl, I would go to church. It was down the street from where we lived, and we could walk down there because it was my mom, my brothers, three brothers, and my sister and I that would walk because my dad had the only car to go to work. And so we went to a church that was in the neighborhood. I remember that my favorite song was Trust and Obey. The song said that there's no other way to be happy in Jesus but to trust and obey. And even as a little child, from early days in childhood, I grew up knowing that I needed to trust God. And I've never gotten away from that. There's something in me that deals with trust. And I still pray this prayer that asks God to teach me to trust you more. It's it's a big thing. And I think that trust is different from faith, but I believe that trusting God and learning to trust Him is what keeps me at peace because I don't understand things, gives me peace knowing that God does. And so I don't have to worry about that. It keeps me from worrying about things and trying to be in control of this, that, and the other. Trusting God keeps me from doing things that He has not told me to do. Trusting God keeps me away from places and people and events that He doesn't want me to go to and go be around. He blocks them from me. So I trust that God can do these things for me because I don't always understand Him. I don't always understand why can and why I can't and why I should and why I shouldn't do this, that, and the other. And so I suffice it to say, God, if you said so, then that's going to be enough for me. So I've learned to accept that God's ability to be omniscient, that means he knows everything. He knows more than I do. So with my smart self, all these degrees I have, doesn't mean a thing stacked up to the infinite knowledge and wisdom of God. I trust that he wants what's best for me. And because I trust that he wants what's best for me, the one he created, then I have to trust my feelings also because my emotions, my feelings inside of me are part of what keeps me connected to God. He talks to me through the feelings that he gives me. And I call them spiritual alerts. It could be a positive, it could be a negative, whichever way you want to look at it. But I call it a spiritual alert. They're signals that let me know that something is not right or that something is right. And so I have learned to listen to the signals because they're warnings, even if it's warning me, get ready for a celebration because you're right on track. I love God because I get to see him in everything.
Mhm.
And I also like the idea that God gives me these signals and warnings and can privately talk to me. He can privately lead me and guide me all the way. And I understand this being like Harriet Tubman because the men and the women and the boys and girls that she led from one place to another trusted her and she trusted God. So I don't know why I can't go this way, but if God said so, then I'll figure it out later, or he'll show me later, or maybe not. I just have to trust him. I know that I could go in another direction, but he says, no, I need to go this way. So I go another way, and maybe later I hear that something terrible happened. And if I hadn't listened to the warning, to the alert, that spiritual alert that was inside my mind, inside my heart, then I would have been caught up in a terrible incident. So I thank God that I can keep trusting him, that my faith gets stronger day by day, and my heart has peace in it. That's monumental because in 2011, I actually had a heart attack that was induced by stressors.
Mhm.
And God has allowed me to overcome certain ways of living and thinking and being that those aren't problems for me anymore. I don't even need to see a cardiologist regularly. And so I trust God to escort me through everything. So I remember, I know that you have an audience for grandmothers and granddaughters, and I remember when I was about 10 years old, I wanted to tell this piece where I decided that it was time for me to get baptized. Now, see, like I said before, I've always known about God. I trusted God and knew that He would take care of me, but I had not joined the church, and I
Mhm.
use that loosely. Join the church, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
basically, other people did not know what my feelings were about God because I kept them to myself. That was between me and God, and I'm really still that way about that relationship with myself and God. In return, regard to being in affiliation with other people, but it starts with me and him. And so I felt uh that I wanted to take communion and I got tired of them always passing the plate by me and I couldn't have it. And
Mhm.
so what did I need to do to be able to take communion? And so I didn't tell anybody what was on my mind except my friend Gwen. And Gwendolyn Wilson and I were in school together. We were in the same grade. We were in the same Sunday school class. And one particular Sunday, we decided that we were going to ask our moms if she and I could sit together instead of sitting with our families. And both of our moms said yes. And we took seats right in the front of the church that would have been the corner seat of of the second pew. So the first pew would have been just past the altar, but the second pew, if you took maybe 4 or 5 steps, you were right at the altar. So we chose to sit in that particular place. My faith was strong, but I was afraid of all those people. I was afraid of what they would think. I never thought about whether they would reject me or accept me or love me or not love me. I wasn't aware of stuff like that back then. I just took things as I saw them as a child. And I just didn't want to be in front of all those people. But the Lord strengthened me and gave me courage to wait on Him to give me a way to do that. And then He gave me Gwen.
Mhm.
We were in Sunday school class and she said whatever and I went with it. And I did whatever I needed to do so that I could get in a position to take communion. I figured out a way to get it. And so I wanted to do anything to get closer to God, to show God how much I loved him. Because you know the preacher says, and here I am a preacher now, I'm the one that says it. as often as often as you do this, you do it in remembrance of me. And it
Mhm.
bothered me that I wasn't able to show God that I remembered his sacrifice. I
Mhm.
remembered what he did for me according to what the preacher said, but why did I have to go in front of all those people to do it? That was huge for me.
Mhm.
You know, why couldn't I just tell somebody privately or quietly? I trusted God. Okay, show me how I can do this. And here comes Gwen with this conversation. And we decided together that we were both ready. We knew we were ready. We knew what we needed to know. It was in our heart for years. I just
Mhm.
had never done it. So
Mhm.
throughout my life, believe it or not, I've never liked being in front of a crowd. I don't like being in crowds. I don't like being in front of a lot of people. And even now, I avoid it whenever I can.
Mhm.
God strengthens me to go before people and do what I need to do for him. Every time I have to be in front of people, I get nervous. Even with this podcast, uh, I'm nervous. With this show, TV show, I'm not thinking about my podcast anymore. This is your show. I am nervous. I'm a public speaker. I'm a preacher. I'm a community leader. I'm a podcaster. I do book talks. I do all of this stuff with people. But every time I get in front of people, I get nervous even today. But once I start talking, the Spirit of God takes over. And that's like the Harriet Tubman way of having faith that's deep in you, that confidence you have in God in you, that you can boldly stand before people and say whatever he tells you to say. And here we have online and we have in person and all of this, and I can declare God's truth in me. I can declare my faith in God because of the confidence he gives me. I trust him. I obey him. I have confidence that there's no other way to be happy in Jesus. And so here I am, confident, Barbara Arlene Fields Breon, having faith in God. Everything I have ever been through, God prepared me to do the work that I'm doing today. So when I was growing up, I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to write books. And now I'm a retired reading teacher of all things.
Wow.
Am a preacher.
Your message
Am
is powerful. I mean, just to think that you were a little girl and you found a friend to get to help to strengthen you to go forth and declare your willing to become a part of the church.
And as I said, those emotions that we have, those feelings that we have are God planted.
Yes.
There are things that happen around us that we can or cannot control. It doesn't matter which way, but we are created beings in God's image. And if He gave us the ability to experience these things, they must have function, they must have reason. So we must understand ourselves in Him.
Right.
So why am I feeling this way? Why am I thinking like this right now? What caused that? And when you are secure in your relationship first with God, You trust God. You have faith. You don't see it, but you hope for that faith that can take you to wherever he wants you to go. Because if you go this way, that might not be where he wants you to go right now. Now, there might not be anything wrong with going that way, but for you right now, you don't need to be down there.
Mhm.
Where you need to be right now is over there somewhere.
Right. Still
And
got to
only
get
he can tell
blessing.
you that.
Exactly, exactly. Well, Barbara, tell us how to get in touch with you because this message is so powerful, but we're out of our time slot here. But people need to know how to find you. And I understand you have a church without walls.
Yes, that's Favored by the Father Ministries. You can reach me at www.favoredbythefather.com, or you can email me at Barbara at favoredbythefather.com. I'm also on Facebook and LinkedIn,